Hi, I'm Dr. Chandra Smallwood, and welcome to my channel. Right now it's still unnamed, but I will be coming with that soon. Today I'm tired. Tired because I went to the Culver City stairs. For those of you that aren't from Southern California, it's a whole bunch of stairs on a mountain. Uneven, unlevel. I don't even know why they let people climb these stairs because it kind of looks like a death trap. Like, people will run down fast. One slip and slide, done. I've even had thought about that, but maybe that's the anxiety. Going down the stairs, slipping, flying backwards, hitting the back of my neck on one of those rickety stairs. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Anyway, today we are here to talk about the definition of anxiety from the DSM, which is a big book right here, the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, 5th edition. The 5th edition is the latest edition because when people ask me the definition of anxiety, my definition is lots of fear, right? Like fear and worry about the future, about what things that happened in the past, about things that could happen in 5 minutes. Sometimes I try to run a lot. I really want to do an LA marathon, but I run a lot at work. I work in Santa Monica, and there's a lot of homeless people in Santa Monica, by the beach. So I have to be very aware, and I'm always thinking about what could happen when I get by the beach, and some homeless person could be enraged about something. Like, you never know. So when I have like little bits of anxiety, I think I'm just having fear about the unknown. So let's go into the definition of what it says here. So, fear is the emotional response to real or perceived imminent threat, whereas anxiety is anticipation of future threat. Okay, earlier this year I went to Bali, and on my flight back, I had such a lovely seat. But we stopped off in Japan, and for some reason we got back on the plane and we took off. I kept picturing the plane exploding into a big ball of flames. Yeah. So the anticipation of a future threat, like, it was like I could see it in my mind. But I mean, obviously it didn't happen, thank goodness. So to continue. Obviously, these two states overlap, but they also differ, with fear more often associated with surges of autonomic arousal necessary for fight or flight, thoughts of immediate danger, and escape behaviors, and anxiety more often associated with muscle tension and vigilance and preparation for future danger and cautious or avoidant behaviors. So, how many of you, before you go somewhere, sometimes you think about what would happen if I had to protect myself? Like, what would you do? You may have, like, I have mace in one of my bags, but it's actually attached to the bag, so I don't really take it off. But sometimes I'll think, okay, if I'm running with that bag and I have my mace and a dog comes out of nowhere, I will be able to unzip my bag and take it out and mace that dog. I've thought about this many times. Or, you know what? One time I didn't think about it though, and I wish I did. I was on Melrose waiting at a bar for a male friend of mine. And I was standing outside the bar, and this homeless dude was, I see him about to walk by me. As he's walking by me, he steps on my foot so hard. Like, and then looks at me like if he was surprised that I was there. I didn't know how to take it. I didn't want to go off on him because I didn't know his mental state at the time. But I must have been kind of out of my normal state of mind, because usually I would have thought about that and maybe moved or something like that. But, you know, it's hard to be prepared all the time. So yeah, so you may think about what you're going to do in a situation that could potentially come up. It may not come up, but it may potentially. And that can be some anxiety, which isn't necessarily bad, because we want to be prepared, you know, and that's one of the reasons why we save for retirement, you know, things like that. We want to make sure that we have a cushion, you know, that we can sit upon just in case of, you know, a rainy day. Okay, so to continue, so anxiety disorders differ from developmentally normative fear or anxiety by being excessive or persisting beyond developmentally appropriate periods. They differ from transient fear or anxiety, often stress-induced, by being persistent, typically lasting 6 months or more. So usually, like when I started having anxiety, I had a panic attack first, which sometimes people have one panic attack ever in their life and they never have it again. I didn't realize that that was the beginning of a 20-year-long process, but it was. So usually when a threat comes to you, you see it coming or you hear it coming, and then your body starts reacting and getting you ready to run or fight or freeze or do something that allows you to survive. So when that threat is gone, usually your body reverts back and it's just fine again. You're just normal. You don't feel anything that's causing you like a rush, like a increased heart rate or something like that. But when you start having an anxiety disorder, it's like you kind of feel a level of nervousness all the time, especially if you have generalized anxiety, which is the most common form of anxiety. When I try to describe it, it's like, you know how temperatures change, like you may be in your house and it's cold, but you're bundled up, but you still feel like your feet might be cold. Like you still feel like a level of coldness sometimes. That is how I feel like generalized anxiety is. Like you feel a level of like stress, fear, worry, and it just like radiates and it's just there all day or all week, even all month. I mean, I've had it last for a long time, and it makes you feel very, very, very tired, because it's like you're on alert like all day for like 5 days or something, and nothing is happening. Like you're not worried about anything in particular, you're just like on edge. Yeah, and that can happen for many, 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 many reasons. So now that is that, and we have spoke about the definition of anxiety, which we will go back to every once in a while just to refresh. But it's not really super hard to understand, especially for people who have anxiety. So let's talk about some of the life part, because I've been dealing with some things lately that can increase anxiety. I don't know if it has yet. But on my anxiety journey, this 20-year journey, I've been able to really get a hold of all of that, the anxiety and the panic attacks, which is the reason why I'm here, to share and help. Okay, so friends. I've had the most issues with friends lately, like in the past like month or two. Don't know what it is. It's crazy. I'm going to talk about one particular relationship here. My longest relationship was with a girl we met in college in undergrad. That was when my anxiety started. I don't think it's because of her, but it did start like around the same time. We met in economics class. She was sitting in the front row, and I think I was sitting maybe a row behind her, but I asked her if she wanted to study. Me and this girl, vastly different. We have different personality. Everything about us is different. The men we like, everything. The only thing that's kind of similar right now is the fact that she's already an entrepreneur and I'm on my journey. So to kind of fast forward that, we've been friends all these years. We're different, but we still like traveling together, going to different countries, hanging out, supporting each other. All that has always been there. So earlier this year, I went through kind of a lot. The end of last year, earlier this year. So like I mentioned in the first video, I have a daughter. She is a little over 2.5. She'll be 3 in March. So her dad and I were together for 5 years. But we ended up breaking up. I ended up ending the relationship because our lives are vastly different. Also, just like my friend. But it's different when you live with someone and you're trying to like have a relationship with them every day. So we broke up last August 2021. I also had a house in Long Beach, which I sold. It was my first house. I wasn't living there at the time. I had a tenant who was living there because I wanted to buy the house I now live in Inglewood. So I sold that house. I used a lot of the money from the sale to renovate the house in Inglewood and purchase the house. So I was, newly single. I had the baby. I was renovating the house. I was going back and forth from the house because we lived in San Pedro and the house was in Inglewood. So it's not super far, it's like 20 minutes. But trying to like work with having a baby and picking her up, and her school's in Inglewood, it was just like a lot. I was going through a lot. Since we broke up, I was starting with the entrepreneurial journey because that's really something that I've been wanting to do for a long, long time, but I always wanted a partner to do it with. But once I realized that was not a part of our plan, well, we didn't have any plans. That was not a part of his plan. I had to kind of move on because our lives were starting to not fit each other anymore. So when I did that, like me and her were talking maybe every day at that time, all the time. But she could be a little judgmental. She's always been judgmental. I just accepted it. Like when it comes to friendships, I'm very accepting. Like if you are who you are, I'm fine with it because I am who I am. I'm more than likely not going to change, especially for a friend, from who I am normally. And as friends, I feel like you're supposed to love and accept each other. So that's really what I did. But at that time, I was going through a lot and I pulled away from us talking every day. Like one day I just didn't respond to one of the messages. And then like she reached out to me a few times since then, but we didn't really talk too much. I didn't nurture those times she reached out because I moved very inward. I had to because I was dealing with a lot. And so I really focused on myself. Started reading a lot of books, got a business coach, just kind of did what I needed to do for me. Because I have a daughter, obviously. So, I have to make sure that I'm good so she is good. So maybe like a week ago, I was in a meeting at work. She sends me a message. And it's a picture of her ex-boyfriend responding to a comment that I made on one of his posts. So I think a lot of people that are entrepreneurs, we rely on motivation from everywhere. If you have something motivational to say that can help me through any moment, I'm gonna take it, maybe as a sign from God that that's something for me to do. So he wrote like an inspirational, motivational post, and it was really good, and it really made me think that morning. He was talking about intention and just, to keep going and everything, and I thought it was great. So I made a comment on his post that said, "That was a word, bro." Like, hey, that was some good stuff. Because it was, and I shared it to my stories because I want to share with other people. And yeah, that was it. And I do that with multiple people. But so she sent me a message with a screenshot and asked me if I thought that this was inappropriate and what's the nature of our communication. I'm thinking to myself, we don't communicate at all. I just liked his post. So she let me know that she felt like it was, she's like, "Do you feel like this is appropriate?" And I was like, to share the motivational message? Like, I was trying to make sure I was understanding what she was saying, because she circled a part of the response on the page, but I didn't really know what the issue was. So she's texting me this, and I'm just like, I don't know. I didn't think anything of it. Like, I said, well, if one of my friends posts something on my ex-boyfriend's page, I don't really care, honestly. It's fine. If someone shared one of his posts, I wouldn't care about that either. It wouldn't mean anything to me. So since that's how I think, that's, I didn't think anything of it. I didn't think that there was an issue. She never had mentioned that before. So as we kind of text throughout the day, and actually I called her 3 times after I got off work to see, on my way home from work, 'cause I was still working from home, but I had to go in the office that day. Anyway, I called her to talk about it because I was so confused. She didn't answer the phone. She told me she was basically weeding out her friend group, and she couldn't have any friends that basically she couldn't trust or would do something as careless as that. And I've been friends with this person for 20-something years. I'm like, okay. I thought that maybe she was upset at the fact that I pulled away, because I didn't really say anything. I just kind of pulled away. But at the time, I just did what I had to do. Whether it was right or wrong, I just had to do what I needed to do for me. I didn't think it would lead to something like it did. Like, I don't know, she probably needed my support throughout this past year, and that makes sense, obviously. But she didn't want to talk about it. She just wanted to text, and I can't text about things like that because, text is like incomplete communication. Like, there's no tone. Like, you don't know what someone's saying half the time. Like, you always have to ask, like, re-ask something again. Like, wait, what did you mean by that? Because it's a text message and I can't hear you. There's no body language, there's no nothing. So I was just like, dang. Like, does she think like I would do something with her ex? Because that was never the case. And we like different types of men. Like, always have. We never had an issue with men. I don't know what that was about. I'm assuming she kind of used it as a platform to end the relationship. Maybe because we weren't talking anymore. The support really wasn't there. And that's, that's her choice. That's fine. But it was really hard for me for a few days to really understand. And we text back and forth for a few days, and it was just so negative. And at the end, I think my last text message was, what are we even arguing about? Because I have no clue. And I don't have any problems whatsoever. She told me I acted like I was going through something, and she's like, well, we all are in charge of our destinies. You like basically grow up, you know? And I was like, I'm not even gonna comment on this because I had to do what I had to do. I did that. I was going through some stuff, and so I pulled away. But that was rough, right? That was rough. And it's all right, I know she's probably here in Los Angeles for Thanksgiving because she doesn't live here, but it's okay. She doesn't want to talk about it. What can I do? So I decided to just let that go. I'm not going to continue to worry about, something when we can't really even talk about it. Maybe she'll hit me up one day and we can talk about it. Which would be nice. I would love to talk about it, but we'll see. Also new in my life is I met a guy, and so throughout this year, I wanted to be single for at least a year. But it feels like longer than a year to me. Like, I know other people don't see it that way, but I see it that way because the end of the relationship with my daughter's father, we really weren't connecting, like maybe 2 years. Like basically after I had the baby, like we weren't connecting at all. It was the pandemic. A lot of things have changed, and so I felt like I've been single for like 3 years. So I met a man who was amazing to me, and we have started to hang out. And even though I think it's great, like I haven't dated anyone since my daughter's father, and I'm nervous. Like, I feel like, do I want to be in a relationship? I mean, I do, but I'm just nervous, and it was funny because, like, I've been speaking it into the air that I've wanted to get married and find someone, and I had never done that before, like, with my exes or anything. Like, I never really thought about marrying them. I mean, sometimes, but it was nothing I ever pushed or it was like, I look forward to the day that this man proposes to me. Like, I never felt that way. And with this dude, like, I was just like, oh my God, I think this is my person. Like, I would do this. And it's like, whoa, it's an intense feeling. And so we have been hanging out, and it has been good. And sometimes I think, like, when I think about me being nervous about the future, I mean, I know that normally happens to people all the time, but I don't know what part of it comes from the fact that I've had anxiety for 20 years, even though I've dealt with it. How much of that is me looking for a future imminent threat that may never come, and do I stop my life for it? Like, people are like, slow down, take your time, because me and him are kind of on the same page. Like, he's kind of like, yeah, let's do this. I told him, look, this is what I want. Like, I want to get married. I don't want to be in any long-term relationships anymore without marriage, because I did that. I was with my daughter's father for 5 years, and I was with the guy before him for 5 years. And so I'm in this decade of my life, for two guys that didn't work out. And I knew from the very beginning that they were not my people, but I thought it could potentially change. And that is where I went wrong, because I wasn't being as intentional as I should have been. But I also was not, the thoughts of getting married were not there in my mind. So I really didn't have much to be intentional about. So honestly, I probably should have just been single, because I was just in a relationship just for the heck of it. I think that we do that sometimes, especially women. We're just in a relationship because we get along with that person, we like that person, you know. Especially when we're younger, we tend to feel the loneliness more. Like now, like during this time when I've been single since me and the BD broke up, the baby daddy, I haven't been lonely. It's been nice being alone. So now that I have someone in my life who I can move forward with, man, it also makes me want to say, be careful what you ask for. Because I asked for this and I'm happy that it's here, but now I'm just like, oh my God. Like, you know, is this it? Is it time? Like, am I ready? Like, how do you know that if you're ready? Yeah, I guess I feel like you never know. Just like kind of having a baby, you can never really be ready. You just kind of do it, you know? So that is the life part of this vlog today, is me trying to figure out, you know, if I'm ready or if I'm just having some like anxiety about, you know, the future and the thought of this great thing happening. So I don't know. I'll keep everyone posted. But for now, that's it. We will come back to this definition many, many times from the DSM. The DSM is known as the Mental Health Bible. So I always check it for definitions, you know, just because that's what's used across the board, nationally, internationally. I hope that everyone is having a beautiful, great day. And also, I want to say that on my Instagram, if you follow my Instagram, I am at Dr. Chandra Smallwood. I have a book that I wrote regarding, it's kind of like this. It's life, it's information, it's about my anxiety journey, and it's focused on generalized anxiety and panic disorder in minority women, because that's kind of the title of my life right now. So if you go on my Instagram, it's in the you know, the profile. Click it, purchase the book. It's a great read. I also am doing webinars about helping to decrease past emotions, and I'm going to be doing a masterclass on generalized anxiety, since it is the most common anxiety and a lot of people have it and may not really know what to do or may not feel comfortable seeking help. So look out for those things, and I will see you soon.